So welcome everyone. We're going to wait for about 30 seconds to see if we get some more of our attendees, and then we'll get started. So give us about 30 seconds. Okay, so we're going to get this started. My name is Amy Monahan, and I want to welcome everybody to the first EcoSTEM of Learning webinar. So with that caveat, I just want you all to understand it is our first as well. So if we have a little hiccups occasionally, just kind of cut us a little slack today. So I'm going to get us started. I am Amy Monahan. And I'm going to try and switch the slide really quick. Let's see how that works. There we go. So I am the STEM specialist for Volusia County Schools, which is here in Florida, Daytona Beach area. I'm also one of this year's DoD STEM ambassadors. And I'm also a VMA board member, and I'm going to describe what that is here in a second. So I have been the STEM specialist for 12 years, and which I cannot believe it's 12 years. I am in charge of the K-12 STEM education program for our students and for the schools. And we do things like FIRST robotics, drones, anything that we can do actually in the realm of STEM. So STEM in our classroom, STEM as clubs, however it works. We have a big program for young women in STEM to kind of show that path for that minority in STEM. So things of that nature, very strong in Volusia County here. I am also a DoD STEM ambassador. I have worked with other ambassadors to spread the word of what DoD STEM provides, and for teachers and for students. That was very eye-opening for me. I am surprised how little I knew in the realm of DoD STEM and how it can assist me in my district and our teachers and our students. So it was a very interesting program. For anybody who's talking about the DoD STEM Ambassador Program, it is ideal. And I think it's a necessary bridge between industry, military, and education. So I highly recommend it for everybody. So very happy about that. We'll finish August 12th in my ambassadorship for the year, but I'm not going away as far as assisting the DoD STEM. So the next one that I do is the VMA. I'm a board member. So this is the Volusia Manufacturers Association. There's about 400 manufacturing companies in Volusia County, and they asked me to be on the board to help be in charge of the education project for VMA. So what's great about that is it's connecting our local manufacturers with our teachers and our students. And believe it or not, I just learned of another DoD STEM recipient in our district who's a VMA member as well. So I think it's wonderful how the whole ecosystem is working for us. They do things, the VMA does things like host the Robot Brawl, which is basically battle bots, which is so much fun. Elementary kids battling robots, super cool. And they hosted a golf tournament to raise money for grants for our schools. So that is me in a nutshell. So on to our other presenters.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wendy Hales Mora. So I am, I always say that my day job is I'm a pilot for Southwest Airlines. So that's what I always wanted to do when I was a child. But my passion is actually giving back to the area that I came from and turning around and helping other aspiring aviators. So I am involved in many different things, both inside and outside Southwest, but I'm just going to highlight what I do for Southwest. I am part of the Adopt a Pilot program and as well as a Destination 225 recruiter. Destination 225 is our pathway where high school students can go directly from graduating high school to a Southwest Airlines cockpit in about 4.5 years. But we start way sooner than that in the 5th grade with our Adopt a Pilot program. And I have just a little 2-minute video that I'm going to play because I have learned that this video says more about Adopt a Pilot in 2 minutes than I can say in 15 minutes. So I'm going to play that really quick to just tell you about the Adopt a Pilot program.
I feel like I'm dreaming right now. I'm not here, but wow, this really is it. This is where I want to be one day.
We're at Southwest Airlines Flight Training Center. We call it the LEAD building.
We are celebrating the success of the Adopt a Pilot program by showcasing some of the students that me and other pilots have been mentoring that started in our 5th grade Adopt a Pilot classes and are now interested in pursuing pathways into a professional pilot career.
I initially started off in 5th grade with Captain Nancy. That's how my beginnings with the Adopt a Pilot program began.
I think by the time he was 7, he knew more about every aircraft Boeing type than I do.
For me, I can't exactly say where it started because it's been with me my entire life. I live and breathe flying.
Pro-Pete.
On.
Auto normal.
Auto normal.
For as long as I can remember, at least 3 years old, I know I've looked towards the sky and I've said, wow, I want to do that. We've shared this special relationship that we've held throughout all the years.
The main part of Adopt a Pilot that I like is we're building their courage. We're building their confidence.
It feels really good to know that someone sees my dreams and wants me to really go that extra step. These people really do care about you. They're coming to help you with whatever challenges you face. They're willing to put in the extra work so you can succeed.
I love it. There's almost nothing that feels better than if you can make a difference in a child.
I love flying airplanes, but mentoring and supporting people in their really big dreams is my passion and my heart. What they saw or experienced in the classroom with Adopt a Pilot, that's not just one pilot. That is Southwest Airlines. That is who we are. Anyway, so that's just a little bit about our Adopt a Pilot program. So it is one way that we, Southwest Airlines, engages with our community in the STEM realm. It is free to, it is a 5th grade based curriculum. It can be changed a little bit to teach it to a lower grade or a higher grade. And then we also do a whole bunch of other outreach work and STEM related work through our K through 12 resource page, which I also put on the slide. So, and then just a few pictures. So just so people know, you know, most people know who Southwest Airlines is, right? We're the big blue airplane that always flies around, right? So peanuts, I guess we serve pretzels now. So, but really, ultimately, we connect the people to what's important through friendly, reliable. We ultimately happen to be a low-cost air travel carrier. So, but we're more interested in what we can do for the community and for those that want to be involved in a STEM-related field. So, and on to that, with that, I will pass it on to our next presenter. Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Hello, my name is Parks Easter, and I am the lead geotechnical engineer and outreach coordinator at the Exolith Lab. The Exolith Lab is located in Central Florida, and it is a space science lab that provides the space industry with lunar, Martian, and asteroid surface analogs. These are also called regolith simulants. That's their scientific name. This is basically just space dirt. So we make all the space dirt for all the rovers that are tested at NASA, any lunar landers, Martian landers, anything like that. So we work with a lot of companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, NASA, European Space Agency, and Japanese Space Agency. We're also part of the Florida Space Institute and the Center for Lunar and Asteroid Surface Science. So we're right here at UCF. or the University of Central Florida. We do a lot of educational outreach. Obviously, we work a lot with scientists, but we also like to do different sort of educational kits for classrooms and other learning environments. So you can see in our bottom left, we have educational kits. One of these is the Astrobiology Adventure, where basically classrooms or individuals can get a plant kit, plant their very own plants in simulated lunar regolith. So it's, you know, the exact same minerals, and then report back to us the results, which we then report to NASA. So actively, you know, taking part in actual space science that, you know, might one day be used on the moon. We also have other kits where you can, the second picture is where you can make your own lunar soil. So classrooms can look at all the different minerals that go into the lunar soil, mix those up and make their own. We work with educational programs like the Department of Defense's DoD Starbase Central Florida. That's where some of these pictures come from, and Plan the Moon Challenge. And, you know, what we've really found is that, you know, since space is such a sort of foreign concept, you know, it's not somewhere you can easily go. It really helps to be able to bring space down to Earth and actually provide students with the hands-on experience, you know, touching the moon dirt or touching Martian dirt. It really helps them sort of conceptualize what space is like and what the industry is actually like. And that is it for me.
Emily, we can't hear you. We still can't hear you. This was the caveat of this was our first time too. So, oh, I think we lost her altogether now. So I would love to say that I could read this and let you all know what she's all about. But before we move forward, and if she comes back, we'll add her back in and let her come. I will tell you that this part of the Navy and Team Orlando STEM outreach, I have been the product of that. I work very closely with Emily and all of the programs that they have, including helping support our first robotics. Are you there, Emily?
Do you hear me now?
We do.
Okay.
So I will be quiet.
Sorry about that. No, I appreciate you covering for me. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Sherkow. I'm the STEM lead for our local Navy base here in Orlando. Naval Support Activity Orlando is the name of the installation, and it has the Naval Air Warfare Center, which is NOC, and Training Systems Division. You put that together, and it's NOC TSD. And the main products and services for NOC TSD serves all of DoD branches of the military for modeling and simulation trainers. And I'm happy to take my background in education as a classroom teacher, started public school educator over 20 years ago, and bring all of the resources from DoD STEM to the community in Central Florida, including Volusia County. The first slide here is showing you our spread is beyond Central Florida in the turquoise column there for our fiscal year 23. We are reaching as far south as Miami-Dade and as north as Duval County. Very excited about that. That is accomplished through our outreach that touches at the curriculum level, the K-12 resources for teachers and material kits that are used at grade level, school level, district level. And we are supported by our mentors. So we have scientists and engineers, mentors of all backgrounds at DoD, and my educational background is animal science. I was pre-veterinary, but I wanted to do something beyond becoming a veterinarian. And I think that's my main message when I talk to schools and students and teachers, that, you know, it's time to demonstrate across curriculum and skill sets that are applicable to a variety of STEM focus areas. And, you know, students, like animals, that doesn't mean that there's only one career path for them. There's many different avenues to follow and explore, and STEM can get you there. So I'm happy to show that we're reaching so many students, teachers. We have, 26 different events in this past year alone. Thankfully, that's accomplished through our exciting program, the DoD Starbase. We have different local school STEM nights or career fairs. That's a couple pictures you're seeing there. We do student judging at their capstone projects, for example, at Florida Tech. And we hold sea perch robotics competitions and other robotics events. Let me go to the next slide. There we go. There's some more photos of recent in June of this summer, our Starbase program going on. And again, it's a Navy Starbase, but it is supported by Army, Marine Corps, and Air Force local. We were excited to have the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff come and participate with the students last month. And then, of course, you see Boston Dynamics robot there. So a lot of wonderful experiences going on, and are led by our DoD Starbase director, Miss Lindsay Spalding. So she has helped me show our latest accomplishments here together, looking at over 4,000 hours training teachers, students, near peers. There are high school and college students in the background of that live group, that group shot on the bottom. So we're able to connect the students at a young age. Starbase is a typically a fifth grade student level program, and it's supported with extended activities in after school or summer programs all the way through high school, and of course interning. So we're trying to connect the youngest age groups and keep them in a STEM talent pipeline through, enter of college and post-secondary and postgraduate work. I put all of these here for you, for everybody. You should be able to download, but these are a variety of things that I regularly, resources that I regularly access and share to schools, because I find that overall, these are very successful STEM programs. Of course, DoD doesn't endorse one or the other. I just listed some that are, in my experience, and I've started supporting STEM outreach for Navy and DoD for the last 4 years. Before that, I was doing Navy cost estimating for Navy programs. But I find that these are the most user-friendly for parents and teachers that haven't done any STEM before, or they're not part of a STEM magnet program. So whether it's Odyssey of the Mind, Math Olympiad, Science Olympiad, of course, we've already mentioned robots and underwater ROV systems. FIRST is a terrific organization for demonstrating types of robots and also providing curriculum available once you have a class set. Lots of internship and scholarship opportunities that I also share to the community. So those are the following resources. I'm sure there are others, but I would start with the ones provided here, including the first listing for DoD civilian internships. We also have summer programs with Army that we support. Their Army Education Outreach Program Office does their GEMS STEM camp here in Orlando. GEMS stands for Gains in Education of Mathematics and Science. And a lot of wonderful experience each summer. There's kind of a different theme. So just really happy to cover what I could in just a couple of slides. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to add to that, Emily's, this folder, this flyer, and some others are in your handouts part where you look where the chat is. It's in the handouts. So just kind of to know from there. So excellent. Thank you. I think we're going to, let's not do that again. There we go. That's what I wanted. So we're going to start on some questions that the audience had given us. And so this is for anybody on the group right here. I'm just going to go through, and if you feel like this question is speaking to you, I'm not going to say, okay, Wendy, you go, and then you, Parks, and then you. We're just going to kind of attack it because some will resonate with you more than others. So starting with the first question, how is this type of learning different from traditional learning? So how is STEM learning in general different from traditional? So what are your take? Don't all
I'm happy to join in. I think
I was going to say, I'll answer that one too.
I think we can all say that in our variety of STEM programs, it doesn't matter the topic, it's hands-on, and you're interacting with other students. So it's not usually an independent, solitary experience for a student. If they're doing STEM, they're doing it together, and they're doing it with materials or some kind of simulation system.
I'll add to that too. So what we try to bring to the table in the STEM side of things is to make them realize that it's also relevant to what they're learning in the classroom. So, the worksheets that a teacher gives them 2 days from now or 2 years from now, they'll go back and say, oh, I remember Pilot Wendy talking about Bernoulli's principle, or I remember when we learned about lift. And then in the 12th grade or 11th grade, when they're taking physics, it relates back so they can correlate that, which makes the learning more substantial. So,
well, go ahead, Parks.
Yeah, I was just going to say I agree with both of these, especially, I do think it's important in STEM to connect it directly to either, a career or just some sort of application. It's never just, read this book because you should read this book. It's, learn how to pilot this plane or, do this simulator because it's necessary to pilot the plane, not just because for fun or just because you should. I think there's always a really good reasoning behind why you're doing something with STEM learning.
Excellent. I'm going to add to all of that because as a STEM specialist, that you all just made my job easier, because that's exactly, if it's not real, if it's not relevant to the student, if they don't understand the why we're doing it, they're not doing it. We have students are fantastic, but they're also non-compliant just because they're told to do it. They want to know the why. Their brains are just bigger than that. And the other thing that I heard that I think requires a second discussion is, just because they don't need it right now to pass a test doesn't mean that they're not going to need it later. And giving experiences is, that's brain-based research, is providing those experiences that students can go back to and go, remember when, and now, and just as you said, Bernoulli's principle made sense because they had that experience prior to learning about it. And so in education, we call that activity before content. So to the ABCs, activity before content. So in other words, give them something for their brain to attach to go from there. So excellent, everyone. All right. Our next question is, how can I make my own training presentation or computer online personal PowerPoints easily transfer my training seminars to a flash drive? I'm not sure we have a good answer for that one. Anybody have that was an interesting one. Maybe
is the question asking to shrink it down to a PDF, and slide presentations are
possibly
easily transferred by converting files.
Converting to PDF. That's our answer. If we need more than that, they can contact us later, okay, and we'll help them with that one. Okay. So here's a great question. How does a school system best engage the government STEM program? That's a good Emily question to begin with.
I would say, so if they meet me, great. I show them a variety of ways we can support their school and tailor it to what they need, or their district as a whole. But I also talk about there are mechanisms to do so and ensure benefit to the students, as well as kind of community collaboration back with DoD. It's through what's called an educational partnership agreement. And these are 5-year agreements that are, approved by both legal parties. They're actual standing documents, valid typically for 5 years. And they're usually through variety of nonprofits. It can be a school district. It can be a nonprofit like a museum or higher academia, like UCF, for example. So those are usually where we document. These are the kinds of resources DoD is going to provide to you and which offices are going to do them. And here's examples of students or pilot school programs that we may, want to dive a little deeper and work with students for maybe 2 or 3 consecutive years out of those 5 years. So educational partnership agreements, just getting on my distro. So once, and I send things out at a district level. If schools hear from their principals, they need to watch those emails and attend a teacher workshop, for example. They're automatically in the next notification. And we try to do workshops at least once a year, sometimes in the summer as well as the fall.
I actually have something to add on to that, and this was part of my STEM ambassadorship, that the DoD STEM website, so dodstem.us, is a great starting place too. Like if you don't know who your Emily Sherkow is in your area, that's a great place to start, because there is a map that says, it'll say for educators or for students, and then it'll show where your closest person would be and the programs that can happen in that DoD area. So, and Emily's right about that, the memorandum of getting together and working with it. It took us a bear, but once it was there, there's so many opportunities for the teachers in the districts. So very good. Great question. All right, let's look at another good question. Ooh, I like this one. How can recent engineering college graduates become part of the STEM program?
Well, I'll speak to that to start with. Most jobs now, most organizations nowadays focus on the community and giving back to the community that they live in or serve. So, if you're a recent college graduate and hopefully lucky enough to have landed a dream job or a job, I would look for programs that your institution has already put into place, because you'll find that a lot have some type of STEM outreach program if you're in the STEM industry. So that's a really good way to start. Outside of that, there are, the museums usually do camps, things like that. But I would look first inside your organization.
I'll add on that as a recent college graduate myself, I think this applies to any job, not just STEM. I think networking is really, really key. I think pretty much every organization could use help and wants help and is looking for new people. But really just reaching out to that person, sending someone an email, and just getting in there is really one of the best ways to become involved in any sort of STEM program. Just be direct. It's hard for other people to find you, but it's easy for you to reach out to a bunch of different people. So.
Excellent. I would add also, wherever you graduate, if you graduate in an engineering program, more than likely there's a STEM outreach program at that school, and a good place to start. The next place to start is go back to where you graduated from high school. I bet you there's some teachers who would love for you to be a part of their programs. So those are all great answers. Thank you. I'm going to the Q&A really quick, and Johan Lee asked if the website is correct that I gave you. I put in there, but also wanted to ask whether the contact info would be available. It is available. It will be available to everybody attending today. So thank you for that. Okay, on to a new question. Ooh, all right. Sorry, I should have read them ahead of time, but Okay, what are some strategies for building strong partnerships between school and local companies to provide innovative experiences for students in the field of STEM? So I think I'm going to go first on that one. So being on the board for the VMA, so Volusia Manufacturers Association. So look to see if you have some sort of a business group in your town like that. If you do not, then what are the companies you want to align with, and start asking people from that company, so their HR director or their marketing person, and tell them where you want and what you want. And you'll find that businesses want to help, but they don't always know how. So if we can show that avenue of how to help, then I think we're working in the right way.
Yeah, similarly, some advice on that would just be, it's always good to come to a company, as a representative from an organization. It's always really helpful when you come to the company with an idea or a plan, not just saying like, what can we do with your product? If you're like, if you come to Exolith and you're like, oh, me and my class want to grow plants, can we get some help with this? That's a lot easier for us to respond to and move forward with in collaboration than just saying like, what all do you do? Can we be a part of it somehow? Doing some background research and learning what a company does, and then reaching out to them is a really good way to get involved with any sort of organization or company.
Excellent.
I would just add that if you're referring to K-12 schools, it helps if you're a parent out there, or if you have, of people with students that you have a great idea, you want to bring STEM to the school, you should utilize your local PTA and your administration. We're happy to come out and do presentation and discussion, but it really does help to get buy-in from at an administrative level, and showing them, what we always talk about is return on investment. So everyone has limited funds, everyone has limited time. Teachers are at the top of that list, right? But showing how you can all work together and cover different components of what's needed for anything that's of interest, that's key. So just keeping that in mind to bring all the players together.
Excellent. Good points. All right. I love this question. If we had to focus on only one discipline in our efforts, which one, in your opinion, stands out the most, and why? Okay, I'm going to start with that one. So as a science teacher, really, well, actually, I came from industry also, but I taught science. I think science is a good involver of the other components of STEM when done well. So if you're doing a hands-on real world project and you're building your research of whatever you're doing, you're involving all the components of STEM and then some. Those 4 C's come into play: that communication, that collaboration, the creativity and critical thinking. If you're doing all of that, then that's STEM. And so for me as a science teacher, because I felt I was doing it all, I'm sure I wasn't doing it to its ability. I think that's where most of the components could come in and play.
I'll also jump in and add to that. I would 100% agree, Amy. I would focus on the STEM part of it for 2 reasons from what we see. Number one, the science is really the foundation, which is exactly what Amy, it's just a different way of saying what Amy just said, of everything that builds on the rest of the STEM letters, right? So, and so number one. And number 2, students nowadays are immersed in technology right off the bat, right? I mean, how early did a child have a phone in their hand? So the technology tends to come easier to them than maybe our generation specifically, but the science, maybe that science discipline seems to be fading over time. So, but it's still so necessary in the industry. So I would start with that. To build a house, you have to have a solid foundation, right? So that's what I would say.
Okay, good point. The one other thing I want us to remember is STEM is about integration. So even though we talk about the science, technology, engineering, and math, we're also talking about communication and all the other parts and pieces that make up an education. So I think we need to make sure, and while I'm not a fan of using the word STEAM, design is a big part of what STEM is all about. So not to forget about all those components. I think that's where we need to be. So, all right, this is for everyone to answer. What made you get interested in this subject?
I'll share that. I think STEM was going on long before the keyword, acronym STEM came out. And if anyone's familiar with 4-H or Future Farmers of America, I started out as an agri-science teacher, but Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, there was a lot of STEM going on with the label of science or earth science and other science related topics before it was connected all together on what are we doing with science and where is it going and what are key components of that technology and engineering on how to make it work. So I was always excited as a learner, as a student, and when I decided to be a teacher, loved every minute of it, the hands-on aspect. So it just naturally flowed into doing what I do now. Once I saw that DoD has certain programs, grants, I think I forgot to mention that we support different grants. So giving that out to the community, because I still see a lot of organizations are not aware of the different programs and opportunities. I feel terrific being hopefully that connection between STEM resources and people.
Yeah, I mean, when did I become interested in, STEM? I think STEM is it's pretty much everywhere. STEM is everywhere. It's impossible to really avoid. As just a young kid looking at bugs on the ground and stuff, I think, if properly nurtured, like everyone's interested in science at some point. I don't think you can be a child and not be interested in science, just the world around you. So, especially growing up in Florida, it's a really, really great place to be interested in space and science, just being able to go out your backyard and see rockets launch. I think it's pretty impossible to avoid, STEM. So that's when I became interested, really just, as soon as I can remember.
Wendy, you want to stab at it?
Sure. So you want to know what? I really ultimately I became involved in STEM from a really good teacher that sparked an interest. So I had told my parents that I wanted to travel for a living when I was a child, which is not a job. But I basically in elementary school, I went to a teacher and said, well, I'm going to be a pilot. And that really fantastic teacher was like, okay, well, what can we do that are pilot related things? And did very, very simple. And this was back like in the 3rd grade. So it was a teacher that really just showed me that it was something obtainable. Right. So they didn't make a big deal about the fact that this was science or math or using these big words that seem to come with some connotation. They just took what I was interested in and related it to science. And it wasn't until later on, looking back, that I went, oh, that's science. What I'm doing is science. So it was a teacher. So
Nice. I'm going to answer that question as well, but I have a different take on it too, because my mom was an educator and I did not want to do education. I wanted physical therapy from the day I hurt my shoulder when I was about 14 swimming. So I always said this is what I was going to do. And then when I was working in orthopedics and when I had a kid, and that didn't work well. Sports med and being a mom did not work well in the timeframes. And I went, what could I do? And I was treating students and they would come in and could say, oh, I hate science. I'm like, how do you hate science? Science is awesome. And then I realized that I had a love of science that I knew it, but I didn't know it to the realm that I had. And so I became that person to help other people. And I didn't know I was doing STEM. I knew I was doing good science, but that, you can do science and it not be fantastic science. And so when I think making sure that we know where does that bar need to be and what are we doing. And I love Wendy's story because that could have easily gone, oh, you're a girl. Girls don't do, aren't pilots. So it could have had a bad effect. So I love hearing that when it has a good effect. So thank you for your answers. All right. Here's a good open question. What improvements will be made, could be made? Nah, I'm going to change that. All right, I lied. See, we're just going with the flow today. All right. What role does machine teaming have in the ecosystem development? And so does somebody know what they mean by machine teaming?
Are they talking about machine learning and
That's what I'm thinking.
AI? I
That's
mean, I
what
would
I'm thinking.
say
We're going to go with that one because that's the one I
okay.
understand.
Okay. What the very surface level knowledge I have about that at the moment is often we hear about different technology and systems that are human in the loop, human out of the loop, and how it interacts with other advanced systems, AI possibly integrated there. But when you have a human in the loop system, you are having machine learning going on that's dependent on the responses from the person involved. So this is, for example, smart cars or smart devices that are learning from your voice command versus AI robot systems that might be learning based on their own autonomous system setup and their operations of the system once you program it. So maybe they're talking about that. Again, I'm not the engineer, clearly, as you can tell, but I am happy to bring someone else into the group next time to answer that question. I don't know about machine teaming, but we certainly hear a lot more and more about machine learning.
Yeah, and I'd love to add to that. I actually had a wonderful conversation with a robotics company yesterday that, one of the things moving forward, what are those parameters? What is ethical? What is not ethical? What is, how is the machine learning going to happen in a way to be where humans are okay with it? And there has to be some parameters is the best way of saying that. And there's some committees, and this gentleman was on a committee who is looking into what are we doing with the AI and how moving forward is it going to play a role in our lives. And I'm the first one to say I had ChatGPT take all of my all the research that I was looking up, so all the studies that were done, and annotate every single one of them. It was fabulous. So they didn't write anything that I need, but it gave me something that I could say, oh, this study I want to look further into. This one, okay, I don't need to. But that saved me probably 100 hours of time. And because I'm working on my doctorate, and I went, wow, that was impressive. So there's the place I see it in. And in education, where does it belong? Intellectual property. I don't think we can answer that here, but that maybe raises all the questions that need to be addressed. So anybody else? That was a rough one. All right. So what idea might you have to help engage or support STEM students?
I would just tell that respondents to access all the websites because I'm not sure if they're talking about internships or scholarships. Grants.gov provides DoD and other federal agency-based grant programs that go for a variety of purposes, topics. It's a very easily searchable website, so I would check that out as well.
Perfect. I'm going to jump back, and we got the answer. So, oh no, what happened to it? They were saying that web learning is an AI assistant. So the web teaming is AI using an AI assistant. So look at that. I love that we collaborative in this way. So we're definitely hitting one of the 4 C's today in STEM. So great. And I agree. And I also think that depending on your role in STEM, so as an industry partner, finding out what your community needs in the educational realm. Not everybody has a person like me in their district, but they'll have a science specialist, somebody in charge of science for that district, somebody in charge of math at that district, who would be a good starting place to help, even computer science. So I kind of handle this computer science in our district as well. So depending on where they're at. So if your industry, you can support students that way and find out what can we do. If you are a teacher, that DoDSTEM.us, the grants.gov, all those are good starting places to help your students get information on scholarships, like the Smart Scholar. The DoD Smart Scholar is an amazing one. All kinds of things that are not necessarily you have to be in the military. You can be a civilian in the military. I think that's important to get that point across that we haven't seen. Wendy, do you have something to add?
I would just add one other thing to it. I would, if you are in the education realm, or so I would get students started young. So, if that means, supporting your elementary school teachers in how they need to bring STEM to the classroom, or providing resources, or people that can go into the classroom. So, I think statistics say that most, especially for the girls in particular, if they're not interested in STEM by the 6th grade, they probably will not be interested in it in high school. So the earlier you can start to inspire them, so to get involved, I would do that. So that would be my only other thing. So
totally agree. And I think some of the new research is going lower, going 4th and 3rd grade. So if we're not catching them in 3rd grade, we're losing them. So very good. Okay. How does hardware availability affect the way that we develop an ecosystem of learning in the DoD? So I'm going to answer that first.
Okay.
I have this really wonderful naval STEM person who's in Orlando who gets me tablets to bypass that concern. And I want to add to that because the DoD STEM ambassadors got together last Saturday. That was one of our meetings, and it seems to be a pervasive issue especially on schools that are on bases. And so they are working, believe it or not, this one STEM ambassador is working on a program, a loaner program, to see if we can help that along, because you can get it. It just the time in between. So maybe there's a way we can say, yeah, we're going to get this, but it's going to take this amount of time, what we can do in the interim. And now I'll be quiet.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing it up. That's one of our very happy good news stories. We do transfer of DoD assets that are no longer of use, and sometimes they're things that are a year old. They're just not going to be used for a particular program, and there's a process for approval to do it. The EPA, the Educational Partnership Agreements, are the mechanism for us to attach another transfer letter through. So if you're an organization out there and you want to donate some equipment, I'm sure there are programs that connect to schools maybe at a district level. If you're DoD, they're not really donations. They're official transfer, and depositing those assets. We inventory and go through the whole official process of what's going on with those particular systems, making sure that they're cleared to be used. But also I would consider connecting to the group that's going to use them. So sometimes it is a tablet that at an individual level is a low cost item, but when you can provide many of them to a school that doesn't have the capability in their if they only have one computer lab for the whole school, but now you have a set of tablets that can be used at multiple grade levels or for multiple uses. Those are wonderful things to put in place. And I think if you're an industry partner here on the webinar listening, find out what it is that you can provide that's needed. The worst thing that I saw as an ag teacher, I had hydroponics going on in a computer lab that was formatted as a wet lab. And so a lot of the systems weren't cooperating together. And the worst thing you want to do is to bring in brand new, exciting technology that doesn't fit or can't be used on the Wi-Fi system or whatever it may be. So just checking that utility ability for those systems.
Good point. Thank you. We also want to discuss, so how can people participate in an ecosystem of learning? So don't all talk at once. I'll jump in. So one of the things that you can look into, so in each state, there are ecosystems of learning. That DoD STEM website, so the dodstem.us, does show existing ecosystems of learning. Doesn't mean they're the only ones, but they're a good start. Like in here, I'm actually in between two, so I'm not in either. So thank goodness for Emily Sherkow. There's 3 ecosystems of learning, maybe 4 in the state of Florida, and they don't cover all districts, but they're all listed in the DoD STEM website and so that's a good starting place. I do borrow some stuff from the Jacksonville, it's Northeast Florida's ecosystem, forget what it's called, STEM to Hub. So we do collaborate on some things, and that's where I would say is a good starting place. If you don't know who is around, that's a good place to look. Okay, moving forward. I think I answered that. Ooh, this is a good one. What makes a good symbiotic partnership between 2 STEM-oriented organizations?
I can take it.
Go for it.
For me, it's finding out exactly what each party wants to provide and wants to receive. So it starts with good communication, and because it can be something as simple as, we would like to participate in your annual blank, STEM career night, or we're not sure how much our employees can participate as judges, but we'd love to do either your annual capstone project or your science fair, or we have some employees that can do frequent volunteering, and maybe they're going to be a local mentor for your new coding club or your robotics team, or anything and everything, finding out what the interest is and connecting it with the right person, the right subject matter expert, me, for example. So, if it's aviation, you want to support Civil Air Patrol or other organizations that excite those students and provide those opportunities and have the role models in place.
Yeah, I can say from at least a smaller business perspective, if you're a STEM classroom or anything like that, and you're interested in partnering, one thing that can help a lot is leveraging just like social media and different email lists and stuff like that, because it's great to get the word out on what a STEM organization is doing, get more people to contact them. If you're a teacher, for example, if you're a teacher and you want to do a plant growth experiment, we might be able to provide all the supplies for free if we can get some sort of, like a post in return that can drive more people to use our plant kit or something like that. So basically, yeah, figuring out what the company needs. A lot of times that might just be, posting or telling other people about it.
I'd also add to that, just again on like a school level. So look to the other, elementary schools or high schools or middle schools in your district and see if you can collaborate. If it's an industry, you're asking an industry partner to come to you. If they have 3 or 4 high schools coming together, they might be able to provide more for you than just one individual classroom. So if you work, in a group type of within your organization, if you're calling a district an organization. So I'd suggest that as well.
And I would add to that, please don't make an industry partner do it 6 times because you have 6 classes.
Yes.
That is not nice. So, excellent. Thank you. All right. What approach do you find to be the most responsive to get students interested in a STEM-based career path? This might be our last question.
Can you repeat it? Sorry.
Yes. So what approach do you find to be the most responsive to get students interested in a STEM-based career path? So where do you see your efforts being the highest ability, like return on investment? How do you get the most amount of kids to show or do something?
If it's interactive, the more exciting, the more bang for your buck you're going to get. So that's where we see it, at least.
I would agree. Less talk and more questions to the student, and really require them to stop and try to think critically or talk to each other. All of those icebreaker activities are great for any kind of STEM outreach event you're doing.
Yeah.
This might be slightly harder, but one thing that I found really well to work really well is to relate it to something that they're interested in, the group of kids that you're working with. For example, space dirt, that might just for us, that a lot of kids might hear that and just zone out. But as soon as I mention the words Minecraft and relate how every kid knows like how resources work in Minecraft, as soon as I relate Minecraft resources to space resources, every kid tunes in. Every kid is super interested from that moment for moving forward. So while it might be hard and it's always changing what kids are interested in today, it is very useful to find something that they're doing at the moment, in their social group or their with their friends.
That's good. Yeah, and I would mirror exactly what you all are saying. Is the more real world, the more engaging, the more they're involved, they're doing the work, not you necessarily doing the work, the better results you're going to have as far as engagement with students. So very good. We have just a couple of minutes, and what I'd like to do is see if you have any closing gems of comments to make for the audience.
I would add, keep it student driven. And on the topic of the last question, ask students what they enjoyed from the activity or presentation or demonstration that you did. Ask them what went well, ask them what they thought was exciting about it or what they want to learn more about, because the student's going to give you a better idea of anything you may have missed that will hit your next audience and improve the experience when you repeat it. I would just keep it student focused, because we can't keep up with all their exciting interests that change week to week, month to month. So putting them first, but keeping that foundation of STEM skills at the forefront.
Perfect.
I think probably go ahead, Parks. Sorry.
You're good. I would just say if you see an organization and it's not super clear on how to get them involved in your classroom or your organization, don't be afraid to just reach out directly. It can be hard for organizations to correctly advertise their STEM programs and make it known that this exists. So it's always worth an email.
Excellent. Wendy?
And I guess I would add to the end, so to that is just jump in. Like, it doesn't have to be big and complicated. It's it doesn't have to be scary. So just take the first step forward. So your program will evolve and grow as you get more into it. You'll learn. And that in itself teaches students, right? Like if they watch you, I've done experiments in the classroom that have failed horribly. And you know what? There's a learning experience in that, right? And the more human you can make it, the more open the students are going to be to being willing to try things out. So, you know what? Just if you want to bring STEM to your classroom, your organization, just jump in, Google some simple science experiment, start there. And then, you start a snowball rolling down the hill, it'll just keep going. So.
Oh, I love that. So yeah. And to me, that's exactly the truth. Like my mantra is better done than perfect. Like if you're going for perfection, it'll never happen. And that's not what we want students to understand. Students are afraid to try because they're afraid to fail. We need them to fail so that they get back up and do it again and figure it out and do all of those. Those are the skills that we need for the future. Those are those STEM skills. And if we always keep that safe bubble for ourselves, what are we teaching them? We're teaching them to stay in that safe bubble. So excellent. I will say in that my closing remark is about how much the DoD is out there to help us. And I really found that website is a plethora of information. It's almost overwhelming. We're looking to see how do we make that better. Spend some time on there. And if you have any questions, there's the 4 of us who can absolutely help you get those questions answered. If I don't know it, we'll figure it out. And I want to thank everybody for being online and with us for our very first, maybe annual, quarterly EcoSTEM learning. I want to say it right. Hold on. My EcoSTEM of Learning webinar. We very much appreciate. Have a great day and take care, everyone.